Well, what I'm going to do is just show start to finish the process of how you're going to smoke when you get your big green egg, if you don't have one already. From the light process first. So you can see here, I went ahead and threw one of the little fire starter sticks in there. But I'm going to just dig a little bit of a section right in the middle. We're not going to have a real hot fire today, so we're not going to have to light it in more than one spot. All right, and I'm just going to set that fire starter right down there in the middle. You can use a lighter. I've got matches today. These are pretty handy. I'm going to make sure my draft door on the bottom is all the way open. And then what I will do is just pull some of this charcoal kind of over the top. Once I know that little starter's going, we'll do some charcoal for it to burn. Like so. I'm going to give that just a second. Okay, so what I'll do now, I still have the draft door open on the bottom. I'm going to slide this all the way open. Just pull an air in through the bottom, right through that fire starter stick in the charcoal, and then exiting out the top. So that's only going to take about 10 minutes to get up to temp. We'll take a break here. I'm going to get my ribs. Actually, we'll talk about what we're going to do today. We're going to smoke some ribs. So I've got everything kind of lined out, and I'll go get those here in just a second while this is warming up. But we're going to season. I like to mix the Big Green Egg Savory Pecan 50-50 with the Sweet and Smoky from Big Green Egg. We're going to hit during the cook on the ribs, we're going to use our Big Green Egg Moppin' Sauce. This stuff is really good. Some people use apple juice, but this has got really good flavor to it. We'll hit that several times with the Moppin' Sauce, and then we're going to go KC style and finish it off with Kansas City Sweet and Smoky barbecue sauce throughout the process as well. So we'll take a look, or you can see the Big Green Egg. It does not take long at all. It's been just a few minutes. It's starting to come up. We're going to shoot for 250 degrees. That's going to take it just a few minutes. It'll probably be ready by the time I go inside and get the ribs and come back out. So I will be right back. Okay, so a lot of people ask, when it comes to temperature control, we want to make sure we showed this to you today, so we watch this close. It's been just a few minutes since we went off the camera, but people ask, when do you, they see the different settings that you have for airflow, but people ask, well, when do you start adjusting the temp? So we caught this one just right on time today. Right as Aaron started the camera, it was at 250, and you see I'm starting to climb. If I continue to stand here and talk, which nobody wants me to do, that temperature is going to just start creeping up. It'll get to 300, 400. Bad idea. It's not going to be the end of the world if you do that, but you really want to try and catch your temperature as close to that target as possible, rather than let that keep creeping up. So since we're at 250 and starting to climb above that, I'm going to start our damper process to get the temperature locked down, which is just restricting the airflow. And we've shown this, I think, on a couple long cooks. I'm actually going to go about a finger's opening on the top. If you've got the old lid, you just do the holes open. And then I'm going to take it all the way down to a credit card down here. That sounds crazy, it looks crazy. For 250 degrees, that's the only airflow we need in the Big Green Egg to maintain that temperature. With credit card there, and just about a finger here, that's all it's going to take. If my temperature still gets a little bit above 250, my next step would just be to bring this in a little bit more. I am 100% certain that's going to hold 250 today, so I'm going to go ahead and put my other ingredients, save some time on the video, and show you what we're going to do here. So, first thing, let's get it smoking. What turns a Big Green Egg from a grill into a smoker? Number one, indirect heat, which we're going to show you here in just a second. But before I put that in, I want to get my smoking chips in, so we're going to add wood chunks. You can do chunks or chips. This is pretty cool. I actually did a blend between oak and pecan for this recipe. What I'm going to do now, I've got a real big piece there. I'm going to move just a little bit out of the way so I can get some of this wood down in that fire so we get some smoke right away. You can tell by color which one's which. That's our pecan wood. The darker is oak. And then that fire is going to spread throughout during the day, so I'm going to kind of mix around. Another trick you can do, you can put a couple pieces down here in the front. RD shared that little trick, because then you can use your ash tool later in the cook and I can knock it down into the center if that's still where the fire is. I'm going to just put that in place there. Did forget a disposable pan. And then I can put my grate in there as well. Okay, gonna let that smoke. Don't want to leave that lid open, otherwise that fire's going to start getting to go, but it's going to start rolling smoke out right out into the street. That should get some attention today. And we'll start working on our ribs. What you will notice on that temperature, since Aaron's got the camera on there, don't panic when the temperature goes down. That's because I put that convector inside, and it's not hot like the rest of the egg, so it's probably going to read even a little bit shy of 200 for a while, but it will warm up. Don't touch anything, just let it go and let that smoke start rolling out of there, and we'll get our ribs ready. And we mentioned, I think a few minutes ago, on the ribs, I've taken the membrane off the back. Didn't need to show that process. Pretty easy, some do, some don't. I prefer to. So, we've got 2 slabs of baby back ribs. Get these ready before I get the hands dirty. You can do mustard or olive oil. I prefer olive oil because I'm not a mustard fan. You won't taste the mustard at the end. I just don't like playing in it. So just to give the seasoning something to bind to, we're going to hit these with a little bit of olive oil. Yeah, I took the membranes off, and I trimmed just a little bit off there. If you get a big hunk of meat on there or a big hunk of fat, sometimes I'll take that off, but I don't get too crazy with that. Okay, so we rub those up. We're doing a 50-50 blend with our sweet and smoky and our savory pecan seasoning. These are going to be on there for a while, so I'm going to go fairly heavy. All right, that's a good dose of our sweet and smoky. We'll switch to savory pecan. This stuff, much easier to pour. And I will go a little heavier on the pecan. It's so good on pork. Okay, get a good dose on there, and I'm just gonna kind of pat it, make sure it's good and in place there. I don't mess with seasoning the backside where the bones are. Okay, we're pretty much ready to go there. So our process here, we've got nice smoke coming out of the egg. Some guys will wait and make sure that you've got the clear blue smoke versus the yellow. I don't get too worked up over that. It's going to change eventually anyway, so we're about ready to put those on. Well, so the process here is I'm going to put these on. We're going to use, actually, but very inexpensive and handy accessory that you can get, especially with a large egg. It comes in handy. This is the smaller version. We've got 2. This is the smaller that holds 4. So I've cut my rib racks in half, and I'm going to put 4 of them in this rib rack. You could even do, you could probably get another one if you had. They also make one. The larger rack will also fit in the large egg. It has 6, so I can add another slab. But don't be afraid to kind of pile some on the edges around there, so you could easily get 4 or 5 slabs of ribs on a large egg. Then you start using the expander, go to the second shelf. Now, who knows? Some people have got really creative in how many they fit in there. The rib rack is kind of nice because it keeps them upright. Upright and not touching. So they all get that smoke and that heat. That smoke is smelling really good right now. I like to kind of put them facing each other. Bone side in. Like so you can see there. Super easy. So we've got them set up at this point in time. Now it's just a matter of time. Baby back ribs, if you don't do any tricks like putting them in foil for a while to speed the process up and break them down, normally somewhere between 4 and 5 hours, normally between 4.5 to 5. But the first portion of it, I want to get some bark on there back in a couple hours, and at that point in time we'll start mopping with our mop sauce. Okay, so as you can see, we're still locked in at 250 degrees. It's been about 2 hours. It's been about 2 hours since we put the ribs on, and now we're going to do the next process, which you don't have to do this, but we're going to do the process of mopping. So what I've got is the traditional mopping sauce from Big Green Egg. I want to make sure I shake this up really good because it has a tendency to settle. It's got some apple cider vinegar and molasses, brown sugar, some spices and stuff in here. So this is not barbecue sauce. You can tell by the consistency. It's a lot thinner. The idea here is we're going to brush this. You can do it whenever. I like to do it after the first couple hours. And I'm going to apply this probably every 20 minutes or so, put a coat on there to try and get layers of, it's just going to add more flavor to it. So every time we baste it, we're just putting another layer of flavor. It also gives, I think it gives a little bit better glaze as well. Nice pretty color that it adds to it. So To make it easier, I'm just going to pour it in here. That'll give you a chance to see the good color as well. That'll give you a couple applications there, and we've got a nice little brush. So we'll take a look at what our ribs look like at this point. Looking pretty good. There's 2 hours in. If you are a fan, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. Today I'm not going to, but if you're a fan of what they call the crutch, where you would remove the ribs, at this point in time, you're 2 hours in, this would be the time that you could actually do the crutch, which you put it in aluminum foil. We take those ribs off, wrap them in aluminum foil, put some beef broth. Some people like to do apple juice. You could spritz whatever you want to do. This would be the time that you would do that on baby backs. 2 hours smoke, then usually an hour to an hour and a half in the foil, and then the final hour outside of that. You don't have to do that. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to mop them, and I'm going to mop them every 20 minutes or so once we get started here. So I'm going to grab the first slab, just kind of lay it over where I can access it, and then take my mop, and it's just like mopping a floor. Just coat that whole side of the rib, and then I'll put it back in its spot. Stuff really smells good too. And if you notice, right before we came back, I went ahead and slid knowing I was going to do this. You don't have to, but if you notice, I've got the big green egg pan underneath. That just keeps your, especially with all this sauce we're going to be adding and everything, that kind of keeps us from getting all that stuff on the convector. It won't hurt anything. It's not going to hurt the convector. But if I got all this barbecue sauce on that convector, and then tomorrow we decided to do biscuits on this egg, they're going to taste like barbecue ribs. So not exactly the flavor profile I would always want to have. So if you keep that clean, we can just throw that away. And they sell those in 5-packs, which is really handy. And we got one more half slab here. You can see there's some seasoning and stuff in there. It smells really delicious. You can smell the vinegar in it. It's got a sweet smell. And from a color, you can tell it's just adding more and more layers of flavor. Still got the smoke that's coming out of there. And I will do this process. We won't show you every time, but I'm going to continue to come out here about every 20 minutes and do another mop on that. And we'll come back. I'll do that several times. And then our next goal will be to kind of check them here in a little bit after I'm doing that, and we'll pull them off and put some sauce and go right back to it. Okay, so we are just over 4 hours now on our baby back ribs here. So we're going to go ahead and open it up. Those are looking mighty fine. So I went ahead and kept hitting the mop sauce. It was about every 30 minutes or so. We are working today as well, so I had to get some stuff done, but roughly about every 30 minutes I hit them with that mopping sauce. It's got a lot of the apple cider vinegar, some sugar in there. Gets a nice flavor profile. Now what I'm going to do is get these off of this rack because we're going to finish them on the sauce. So I'll show you kind of what we're looking for here. If you've got a full slab of ribs, you can do a couple tricks to kind of see when they're getting close. You can pick them up. Once you get a hold of it, you can kind of pick it up and see if it starts to break there, which it's starting to. It's getting close. That's why we're going to go ahead and move to the sauce side. I'll move those there so I can slide this. We're done with that now. It's much easier to do the sauce when you don't have to take them out of there. So now we'll just kind of scatter them around. You don't want to do the sauce too early. These probably have another 30 to 45 minutes left, as we kind of thought. But you don't want to do it too early because it does have a lot of sugar in the sauce, and that's going to kind of caramelize. We don't want to burn it. So we're still at the 250 degrees, and now I'm just going to hit it with the first coat. I'll do this a couple times. You only have to do it once, and for those, a lot of people like ribs without sauce. You can do that as well. Some with, some without, however you want to do it at home. And this again is the Kansas City sweet and smoky sauce from Big Green Egg. And the goal here is just to get the sauce on now so we can cook it for a little bit and kind of bake it in and make them nice, and it'll firm up and get sticky. Looking pretty good there. I will let this go for, I may let it go for another 20 minutes and check on it again and either add some more, or we may be ready to cook here. We'll check them here in another 20 minutes. You can see that bone right there. That's what you want to see. It's starting to stick out. I call that a knuckle. That means we're getting really close. So we'll take another look in 20 minutes and we may be ready to pull them off and do a sample. Okay, so let's take a look at our finished product here. It's been 4 hours and about 45 minutes total. When we left the last time, I was doing the sauce. I put the sauce on the first application. I did one more application after about 25 minutes or so. And then, so that was about 20 minutes ago. What you're looking for, a couple different ways I've learned over the past to tell when a rib is done. When you start seeing the rib come out, where it's separating there, that's usually a good sign. And you can actually, these ribs are a little bit hot, but you can grab that and twist. If the rib twists, it's done. You can also, if it's a full slab, you can just pick the slab up and give it a little shake. If it starts to break, like 3 or 4 ribs in, that's usually how I tell at least for the way I like it. If you like it fall off the bone, you can just keep cooking it. Or the foil definitely helps with that if you leave it in the foil long enough to get it to where it just falls off the bone. So we'll get these off of here and let them cool down for a minute. You see how that sauce is, it's not dripping or anything, it's just totally cooked on. You see the bones there are all kind of coming out there. I'm going to pick this slab. These are going to be hot, so I probably won't eat it, but we're going to see what we've got once we carve into it. You can do it either way. You can actually kind of go right through the middle of the rib, or if you like more meat on it, you could go right next to the next rib. So, oops, you actually got to get in between the ribs. I'm going to cut a couple of these here where you can see what we've got. So you can see a nice color, nice smoke ring. You can see the moisture. I don't know if the camera will pick that up or not, but that's a hot rib. You can see the gloves. Yeah.